Welcome back to our channel. In this video we talk about Joachim Peiper. The name still carries weight even decades after the fall of the Third Reich. He is etched in history not for heroism, but for his role in one of the darkest chapters of World War II. Peiper's life, a blend of military acumen and brutal violence, serves as a reminder of the horrors of that conflict. His story is not one of glory but of infamy. It is a story that demands to be told, not to celebrate but to understand the depths of human depravity. Peiper's journey from an ambitious youth to a notorious SS officer is a chilling testament to Nazi ideology. His rise through the ranks mirrored the rapid ascent of the Nazi regime itself. His story is inseparable from the broader narrative of Nazi Germany, a cautionary tale of a nation seduced by power. The echoes of Peiper's actions continue to reverberate, reminding us of the fragility of peace. His legacy is fraught with controversy and moral ambiguity. Yet, it is precisely because of its disturbing nature that Peiper's story continues to fascinate and repel. Joachim Peiper was born in 1915, into a period of great upheaval and uncertainty in Germany. The shadow of World War I loomed large, and the country was grappling with economic instability and political turmoil. It was in this climate of disillusionment and resentment that the seeds of Nazism were sown, finding fertile ground among those desperate for a return to order and national pride. Peiper's family, though not overtly political, held nationalist views that were becoming increasingly common in post-war Germany. Young Joachim, like many of his generation, was swept up in the rising tide of nationalism. He joined the Hitler Youth, drawn by its message of unity, purpose, and a glorious future for the German people. This period of indoctrination would have a profound impact on Peiper, shaping his worldview and setting him on a path that would lead him to the heart of the Nazi war machine. In 1933, at the age of 18, Peiper made a fateful decision that would seal his destiny. He joined the SS, Hitler's elite guard, an organization notorious for its fanaticism and brutality. The SS offered Peiper not just a career, but a sense of belonging, a brotherhood forged in the crucible of shared ideology. He rose quickly through the ranks, his ambition and ruthlessness catching the eye of his superiors. Peiper's rise through the ranks of the SS was nothing short of meteoric. His tactical acumen, combined with his unwavering loyalty to the Nazi cause, marked him as a rising star within the organization. He soon found himself thrust into the crucible of combat, commanding units on both the Eastern and Western fronts. His courage under fire and his ability to inspire his men quickly earned him a reputation as a formidable leader. On the Eastern Front, Peiper's unit, the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler, was involved in some of the most brutal fighting of the war. The vast, unforgiving landscape of the Eastern Front tested the limits of human endurance, and Peiper's men, hardened by months of relentless combat, became increasingly desensitized to the horrors of war. It was in this brutal theater of war that Peiper's reputation for ruthlessness began to solidify. Despite his successes on the battlefield, Peiper's career was marred by controversy. There were whispers of atrocities committed by his unit, whispers that would later erupt into accusations of war crimes. But for the time being, Peiper remained a valuable asset to the Nazi war effort, a skilled and ruthless commander who could be counted on to achieve victory, no matter the cost. Section 4, The Stain of Malmedy. The Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's last desperate gamble to stave off defeat, would prove to be a turning point in Peiper's career, but not in the way he might have hoped. It was during this bitter winter campaign in the Ardennes forest that Peiper's unit would be implicated in a war crime so horrific that it would forever tarnish his name, the Malmedy Massacre. On December 17, 1944, elements of Peiper's Kampfgruppe encountered a group of unarmed American soldiers near the Belgian town of Malmedy. What transpired next would become one of the most infamous incidents of the entire war. Over 80 American prisoners of war were systematically murdered by their German captors, gunned down in cold blood. The Malmedy Massacre, as it came to be known, sent shockwaves through Allied lines, solidifying the image of the SS as ruthless fanatics capable of unspeakable atrocities. The full extent of Peiper's involvement in the massacre remains a matter of debate to this day. Some historians argue that he was directly responsible for ordering the killings, while others maintain that he was unaware of the actions of his subordinates. Regardless of his direct role, the Malmedy Massacre would forever stain Peiper's legacy, casting a long shadow over his military accomplishments. Section 5. Shadows of Atrocities. The Malmedy massacre was not an isolated incident. As the war progressed, so too did the allegations of war crimes committed by Peiper's unit. Whispers of atrocities followed in his wake like a dark cloud, further cementing his reputation as a ruthless and brutal commander. These allegations, once dismissed as enemy propaganda, would come back to haunt Peiper after the war. In Italy, Peiper's unit was implicated in the massacre of civilians in the villages of Boves and Stavelot. These incidents, marked by horrific acts of violence against innocent men, women, and children, painted a chilling picture of a unit operating with utter disregard for the laws of war. While the exact details of Peiper's involvement in these atrocities remain shrouded in controversy, there is little doubt that his unit was responsible for numerous acts of brutality against civilians and prisoners of war. The cumulative weight of these allegations would ultimately prove to be Peiper's undoing. After the war, he would be brought to justice for his role in the Malmedy massacre, his trial becoming a focal point for international outrage over the horrors of the Nazi regime. Section 6. Life after the fall. The end of the war in Europe brought with it a reckoning for those who had perpetrated the horrors of the Nazi regime. Joachim Peiper, once a decorated SS officer, found himself stripped of his rank and facing charges for war crimes. His trial, along with that of other members of his unit, became a stark reminder of the human cost of the war. Found guilty for his role in the Malmedy massacre, Peiper was initially sentenced to death. However, his sentence, along with those of others convicted in the trial, sparked controversy and debate. Some argued that the trial had been flawed and that the defendants had been denied due process. Others maintained that the sentences were justified given the gravity of their crimes. Peiper's death sentence was eventually commuted to life imprisonment, a decision that did little to quell the controversy surrounding his case. After spending over a decade in prison, Peiper was released in 1956. He attempted to rebuild his life in anonymity, taking on a pseudonym and seeking work as a translator and writer. However, his past continued to cast a long shadow. His attempts to live a quiet life were constantly hampered by his notoriety and the enduring legacy of his wartime actions. Section 7. A legacy shrouded in darkness. The circumstances surrounding Joachim Peiper's death are as shrouded in mystery as much of his life. In 1976, his home in France was attacked and set ablaze. Peiper, living under an assumed name, perished in the fire. Some say his death was an accident. Others believe it was revenge for his wartime crimes. Joachim Peiper's legacy remains a subject of intense debate and controversy. To some, he was a skilled commander, a product of his brutal time. To others, he was a war criminal, a symbol of Nazi horrors. The ethical implications of remembering figures like Peiper are complex. How do we reconcile his military achievements with his horrific crimes? How do we ensure the memory of victims isn't overshadowed by their persecutors? These questions challenge us as we grapple with the legacy of the past. Peiper's story reminds us of the enduring power of hatred and the fragility of peace. It is a story that demands to be told to ensure the lessons of the past are never forgotten. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.